Hey everyone! Every single time you hop online, you're navigating this invisible world of rules. Some of them are written down in law, and, well, some are just understood. Today we're going to unpack that digital rulebook, drawing on some great material from Brunel University to really get to the bottom of the difference between what's just wrong and what's actually illegal.
So, let's just dive right in with the big one. Have you ever stopped to think about this? Is everything that feels kinda wrong, unethical, is it also against the law? You'd think the answer would be a simple yes, but trust me, it's way more complicated than that.
All right, to make this real, let's talk about Lonely Joe. So picture this. Joe works at a video store, and he decides to peek at his neighbor's rental history. Why? He's just hoping to find something they have in common, a way to start a conversation. It feels a bit creepy, right? Definitely a bit of a privacy invasion. But did he actually break the law?
And this, right here, is the absolute core of the issue. See, ethics is all about what we should do. It's like the high bar, the standards set by society. The law, on the other hand, is about what we must do. It's the bare minimum. So while Joe's snooping is for sure unethical, it might not actually break a specific written law. And that's a huge takeaway. Just because something isn't technically illegal doesn't mean it's okay.
So, if the law is often playing catch-up with technology, what are we supposed to do? We can't just sit around and wait for new rules to be written. We need our own internal guide, right? That's where having a strong ethical compass comes into play. It's that set of principles that helps us figure out what to do in all those gray areas the law hasn't gotten to yet.
And that brings us to this whole field called computer ethics. It's basically the moral framework for how we use technology responsibly. I mean, when you really think about it, the power that we all have at our fingertips is just immense. And with that power comes a huge potential for misuse. Everything from pirating software to massive privacy breaches. That's exactly why these ethical guidelines are so incredibly important.
So what does a professional code of ethics even look like in the real world? Well, the British Computer Society, the BCS, has a great model. They break it down into 4 main pillars. And notice, it's not just about being a coding genius. It's about making sure technology is actually used for good, being honest about what you can and can't do, acting with integrity for your employer, and, being a good representative for the entire profession.
And hey, this kind of ethical thinking isn't just for tech pros. It's built right into the fabric of academic research. For any study that involves people, principles like these are completely non-negotiable. People have to give informed consent, meaning they know exactly what they're signing up for. They have to have the right to walk away at any time, no questions asked. And they need to know their data is going to be kept safe and private. It's all about respect.
Okay, so we've got these ethical principles that guide what we should do. But what happens when a line gets crossed so badly that society decides, nope, this must be enforced? Well, that's the moment ethics gets turned into law, the official, enforceable rulebook for how we live our lives online.
You can really see how the law is constantly in a race to keep up. Take the UK's Computer Misuse Act. It didn't just appear out of thin air. It was created back in the 90s because of early hacking scandals. But then technology changed again. Malware became a huge problem, so they had to update the law. Then smartphones took over our lives, and yep, they had to update the law again just to make sure phones were covered. It's a constant game of catch-up.
When you boil it all down, so many of these digital laws circle back to this one fundamental idea: privacy. It's really just about having some control over your own information. Who gets to see it, who gets to use it, and what they can do with it.
For a really long time in the UK, data privacy was built on these 8 core principles from the 1998 Data Protection Act. And they were pretty solid. They established our basic rights, making sure our data had to be used fairly for specific reasons. So a company couldn't just collect your data for one thing and then use it for something totally different. They also had to keep it accurate, secure, and they couldn't just hang on to it forever. This was the foundation.
But then GDPR came along. In 2018, this huge EU regulation basically became the new global benchmark for data protection, making our rights even stronger. And even after Brexit, its core ideas still heavily shape UK law. It's pretty much considered the gold standard for how any organization should be handling our personal data.
Now, a really key part of GDPR is this idea that not all data is created equal. Information about your health, your political views, your race, that's all classified as sensitive personal data. And this kind of information gets the absolute highest level of legal protection, simply because if it got misused, it could cause the most harm.
The law also steps in to protect our creative ideas, but it's super important to know it does this in 2 very different ways. Copyright is automatic. The second you write a line of code or a lyric to a song, Boom, it's protected. But, and this is a big but, it only protects the way you expressed your idea. A patent is a whole different beast. It protects the actual invention or the core idea itself. It's much, much harder to get and it doesn't last as long, but the protection is way stronger.
Okay, so we get the ethics, we get the laws, but just knowing the rules isn't quite enough, is it? How do we actually use this knowledge to protect ourselves and our data? It's time to get practical. Let's talk about how you can build your own digital shield.
When we talk about security, the threats our data faces usually fall into three main buckets. First, you've got the intentional stuff, like outright theft and fraud. Then there's loss of confidentiality, which could be an accidental email leak or a targeted hack. And finally, there's the threat of your data just not being available. Think of a nasty denial of service attack that locks you out of your own stuff right when you need it.
Now, to fight back against these threats, organizations use a whole bunch of tools. They use authorization, things like passwords and permissions, to control who gets to see what. They have regular backups so they can recover if something goes wrong. They use encryption to scramble data so even if it's stolen, it's just gibberish. And they use firewalls, which act like a digital gatekeeper for their network, blocking suspicious traffic.
And here's the good news. There are 5 simple things you can do, like right now, to make yourself safer. 1. Keep your security software updated. 2. Update everything else. Your phone, your apps, those updates often patch up serious security holes. 3. Use strong, unique passwords. Please. 4. Back up your important stuff. And 5. Before you get rid of an old phone or computer, properly wipe it. Just deleting files isn't enough.
So, to wrap this all up, I want to leave you with this final thought. Technology is moving faster than ever before. So how do we find the right balance? How do we make sure our laws and our ethics can actually protect people without accidentally killing the incredible innovation that pushes us all forward? It's the central challenge of our digital age, and it's something for all of us to really think about.